All right, guys. First, just on a somber note, just man, our thoughts and prayers go out to Mike Loxley and his family on the death of his son Miko. I mean, that's the absolute parents, worst nightmare. So, to Mike and his family, man, our thoughts are with you, our prayers are with you, and there's really nothing we can do. But if there's anything that is, we'd love to help. I mean, what a tragedy. I never met Miko. Miko was here on the team, I believe, when I first came here. But we did correspond a little bit a couple times. I think I did talk to him on the phone one time. But just a tragic loss of a young life, taken way too soon. Just anytime you play the first game, particularly when you have new faces, which normally in college football, that's what you have. It's good to get some video evidence of what individual players can do and to get video evidence of what your team can do. And that's what this is now. We saw some good things. We saw some things that we definitely need improvement on. That goes without saying. But at least we know what the target is now. As you practice 4 weeks in the off season, in the fall camp, you go against each other so much. There's no scoreboard. It's just a little different dynamic. At least now we have video evidence of what we need to work on and what we need to improve on, and that's what this week is. That's what this week is maximizing every minute we have to get better as a team, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So with that, Rick, you want to start this off?
You said last night that you have not talked to the team about last year curses. Will you at some point, or do you think that's necessary?
No, I think that's. I don't think there's any reason to do that. What have we won? 8 of our last 9 games we've played. That seems like a long time ago. And I'm not. This isn't coach speak. This isn't coach talk. It's about, can we improve on Saturday night? You look all over our offices, that you see the phrase "narrow the focus." I think the worst thing I could do is expand that focus and make it about things that will be of no importance when that ball's kicked off Saturday night. So narrow the focus. We'll spend a lot more time looking at ourselves, quite honestly, than we will them. We know them pretty well. We all watched them play Thursday night in Tempe. So it really is narrow the focus and try to improve and maximize every bit we have moving forward. We've got, 2 games in 9 days coming up. There's no reason to complicate things or bring other things in. There's a lot of things we need to do, and we control it. It's on us. It's you can only coach one football team at a time, right? I can only coach our team. So the focus is totally on us.
Coach, what about playing on Facebook Live? You get some more eyes on the product.
You're going to have to tell me more about that. I apologize to Facebook Live. I don't know a whole lot about it. I guess it's a good thing. We did have the opportunity to play the game in the afternoon on television, but for our fans, and probably the New Mexico State's fans, we thought it was better to play it in the evening, and it's on Facebook Live. So I don't want to show my age, but that's kind of a new thing for me. Sounds kind of exciting, but again, narrow the focus, right? Narrow the focus.
Coach, you drive down, get stopped at the 1.
Yeah.
What's that feeling? And then to have them turn around and go score. Is it an early wake-up call? It's like, man, who are we? Sort of a question in everybody's mind. Was it a catalyst for you guys to get the game face?
Does suicidal come into mind when they take, in the first game of the year, those kind of things. I talked last week, I guess, right? The question came up of, what's the emphasis? And to me, the emphasis always is in the first game particularly, and in big games like we have Saturday night, that the air doesn't come out of the balloon right away, and I think, it's easy to say that, but it's how you approach every day and you approach every practice with your team, kind of the drip effect of how you respond to things. But that certainly could have happened Saturday night. You know, when you do take that drive as easily as we had taken that drive, we don't score, then they turn around and really a methodical 99-yard drive. I mean, they did have the 33-yard jailbreak for the touchdown, but that was a heck of a drive coming out of their end zone. I mean, there's some panic that could set in. But I think as you prepare your team, back to that drip, you know, it's too late to talk about that then. It's how you prepare your team. So, yeah, I mean, it was disappointing. We all know how fickle momentum in games, particularly opening games, how things go. But we survived it. We survived that, and I think that's kind of what we are as a program. Maybe a little more methodical and just, you know, keep plugging away, and that's what we did.
What kind of challenge does their quarterback present for your secondary?
We've seen a lot of them. You know, it seems like he's been there for a long time. I'm sure just like it seems like to them, Lamar's been here a long time, but he's an athletic player first. He's got a really good arm. He's got a lot of experience. I've been impressed with him since the first time I saw him. So he presents a lot of challenges because he can run and he can throw. And certainly, you know, their talent level at wide receiver and running back is impressive. So he's got a lot of weapons, he's got a lot of experience, and he's got a lot of talent. So that provides a challenge.
Has your perspective changed on this rivalry since when you first got here to now you're in your 6th year with this matchup? I remember in one of those early years when you beat them down there, you were real excited, kind of mentioned this was a date circled on the calendar kind of deal, and you know, now in your 6th year, you're talking about narrowing the focus, not looking at last year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, I think our first year when we came in, if I remember, it was 9-22-12. You know, and in particular because, you know, we had Mississippi Valley State at home, and then we went to Texas and we went to Texas Tech. So it didn't take a genius to realize, man, we were in the middle of it there with going to Texas Tech, and then going to Las Cruces. Then we had Boise State at home. Pretty good run right there, right off the bat for a team that had been 3-37. So yeah, we made a big deal about 9-22-12. But to answer your question, JP, nothing's changed with the rivalry. You know, it is, you know, the old cliche of you really can throw out the records. You know, it's about individual matchups, and nothing really has changed. Yeah.
Oh, did you see anything on tape from their defense that was different? They looked like they stopped the run a lot better.
New Mexico State?
Yeah, they got to the quarterback better.
Yeah, they you know, they have changed a little bit. I think they've become a little more of a pressure defense, a little more man-free, a little more blitz. You know, reading about them in the offseason, I think that was a goal of theirs, to be able to play a little more man coverage, to be able to pressure. And they have those kind of athletes. You know, they're explosive. They're explosive and they play hard, and they've done a good job. But they are a little bit different. They are a little bit different in that they will blitz a little bit more.
It's been suggested, and no one will ever know, that the loss down there last year affected home attendance the rest of the way. Is that something you think? Obviously, there's nothing you can do about it.
You know what I would say about that? I guess, and I haven't paid a lot of attention to it, but I think the year before we beat them, isn't that right? And we played Colorado State out here after beating Boise, and we're really playing for the Mountain West Conference Championship, and we had 18,000. So I'm sure that, if we want to say excuse, worked last year, but it was the same thing the year before when we beat them, and we played Colorado State the next to last game for the championship here, and there were 18,000 people. So I guess we can continue to talk about reasons. We can continue to talk about that. Maybe the market is what the market is, you know, so I think that's all theory. But again, they did beat us last year, and if that affected attendance, that's something that I guess people should talk about and figure out. But I don't think that was the case the 4 years before that, because I didn't think we drew many more the 4 years before that.
Coach, after looking at game tape, were you, I know like you were talking about the run, how you like to stuff it down people's throats after the game, but were you a little bit more encouraged by, like, you guys could throw and run too when you looked at the tape?
No, I think, you know, we probably should have done a couple things different schematically. You know, we may have been a little bit stubborn. Not that that was the difference overall. You know, losing Avery Jordan, we were really, really young in there. You know, Charlie Gramel had to go to tackle right away. You know, Ray Baylor's in the game right away, where we were already young up there. And then they were pretty good. You know, they had a lot of speed on the perimeter. You know, plays, for instance, the year before in our first game against South Dakota that would have scored against South Dakota, Abilene Christian was able to track them down because, you know, they're pretty athletic. So it was a combination of a lot of things. You know, we didn't look as explosive as we looked last year in the opener, but I do think Abilene Christian was faster if we're comparing to what South Dakota was a year ago. All those things are behind us now, as I mentioned. You know, now we're into week 2, and it's can we improve on week 1? So, you know, we've analyzed it all. You know, we talked all off season that we think we can be more balanced. I'd like to be balanced because we choose to, not because we have to, you know. And I felt a little bit Saturday night like we had to be more than I would have liked to against a team like an Abilene Christian. So, you know, we've got a lot of work to do. The offensive line, you know, it's full on. It's full on with our offensive line of development. And, you know, so.
What did you see from the rush end position week 1?
Pretty good. You know, Epting and Flack for their first time playing in games. I thought Epting showed the athletic ability that we thought he would have. Flack's pretty athletic. We're probably a little more sudden there than we've been. Ray Boyce came in at the end and had a sack. So we're you know, Everett Powell played, so we have 4 of them. Probably more depth. Probably overall a little more talent, but we're young, kind of like our defense in general. As the game went on, quite honestly, we improved on defense as it went on. You know, we triggered a little bit more. We got up on them a little bit more. We played with a little more confidence, which was good to see. And again, as I said Saturday night, you know, I actually talked to their head coach last night, Adam Durrell. I compliment their scheme and I compliment their players. I think that quarterback and the way they put the ball out on the perimeter with those receivers is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Coach, the Aggies got behind their game pretty fast, and so they kind of seem like they changed what they usually do. They run a lot more. What do you expect? Do you expect more of a 50-50 type thing, or what do you expect to see?
You better get on Doug Martin's press conference. You know, I don't know. You know, they have the ability to do both. They do. Arizona State played them in a lot of 4-man front, spread out all over the field with them. They did a lot of empty in the game. You know, I think it just depends on what our scheme is and how the game goes as to what they'll do. They've got a lot of options. You know, they've got a lot of experience in that system. So, you know, they're a pretty balanced offense. But they did throw it an awful lot against Arizona State.
Coach, you went through it at Notre Dame. Winning breeds something that's just magical. After the game the other night, did you feel a camaraderie, a winning camaraderie, or that rah, rah, rah amongst your team members?
At an R word, it was relief. It was relief, you know. I don't know, Henry, you know, I think we expected to win the game. Not taking anything for granted, and it's always a great feeling to win the game. All you have to do is look around college football at what happened, right? I mean, I don't need to go through the Howard UNLV or certainly the Liberty Baylor, who we play here next year, Liberty. I think New Mexico State plays them twice next year. What they did in Waco, Texas was unbelievable. I could keep going. You know, it's just fun to win a game. You know, you've put so much into it. It's just fun to win a game. That's it. I don't think any more, any less than that.
They ran 88 plays against ASU. Was it a question of tempo, or was it just first down after first down?
I think it was a couple things. One, Arizona State scored on some big plays. You know, they just bang, the ball was out and it was a touchdown. So New Mexico State had the football a lot, but they did make first downs. They did move the ball. They could have continued to move the ball all night on Arizona State. So I think it's, you know, they're a high-powered offense. They're a high-powered offense with a lot of weapons. You know, you look back last year, the week after they played us, they went to Kentucky. and you know, could have probably put 60 on Kentucky, really, if they kept playing the way they played early, late into the game. You know, they're capable of scoring a lot of points.
Coach, because of the inexperience you have on defense right now, are you concerned in these first couple games about those initial drives and how they respond? And you know, is there anything you do special to combat that, or is it just something they have to learn?
I thought it was really a positive. I think probably the number one positive in the game Saturday night was sudden change defense. If you look at it, and I put the one before the end of the first half where we went for it on 4th down. You know, it was a 14-7 game. The ball was at about the 40-yard line, I think, going in. We went for it on 4th down, didn't make it, got sacked. All of a sudden, they have the ball with a couple minutes left in the first half in a 14-7 game. That was a sudden change situation where we got off the field right there at the end. I think Gurgle made the interception. Then you look at the roughing the punter. Absolutely a sudden change situation where we had to go back out there. Then you look at we dropped the punt. So we really had 3 sudden change situations in the game and really responded pretty well. You know, not to mention how the game started out that we've already talked about. So I think that was the positive. I think that was the positive, that we did respond.
Coach, how good is this Jaylee Scott guy? He made some great catches against the
Talk about number 16?
Yeah.
He's good, really good.
So we've had problems matching up with big receivers, so he's going to be a tough.
Yeah, I think Arizona State did too. I think Arizona State did too, right?
Did that open some eyes when you saw that Huntley kid? I was really impressed. 5 rushes for 84 yards, 5 catches. He caught 44. The kickoff return, he just surprised me.
Yeah, they're loaded. They're loaded, man. They got a lot of talent. There's no question about that. You know, so we're going to try to plod along and do what we do. You're right, man. It's an all-star cast, and they've got a lot of talent down there. I agree. So we'll see if we can just find a way to hang in there. Okay? All right, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah.
How satisfying was it to see Dwayne Hart have the day he had and Ramel Jordan have the day
He's not 16. He's not 16 like we're playing against. It was just good to see him make a catch out there.
Coach, can I have one more?
Sure.
The story at USC, Jake Olson, the center, blind, snapping the ball, cooperation from the visiting team and all of that. What did you think of that?
I think that's college football, and I think that's coaches in college football. You know, this isn't the time or the place, but that's college football, and that's college football coaches. That's how coaches do things. Really care about kids. Really try to make it the best you can make it for kids. And that was an opportunity that got a lot of notoriety across the country. I agree it was a tremendous story, but things like that go on every day, of coaches helping players and making dreams come true and making families and players better, right? I think that's what coaches do. Okay? All right, guys. Appreciate you.